All right, guys. So we are going to get started. Welcome everyone again. We are super excited to have you all guys here, not only as SplitMetrics and Branch customers, but also Alex and Alexandra's webinar visitors. First of all, we'd like to introduce ourselves. So I'm Alexandra. I'm leading marketing at SplitMetrics and Searches HQ. I'm also a maker of App Growth Lab, and it is the biggest app growth course in the world so far, and another and the ultimate updated guide. Here with me is Alex, our friend and a co-founder and CEO of Branch. Alex, would you tell guys a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex. A little bit of background. I'm an engineer, actually started off as an electrical engineer, but have always loved software engineering. And when mobile started to grow after, the iPhone was released, I had to be involved with the platform. There was just something incredibly exciting about the idea of a super powerful computer that was sitting inside of every human being's pocket around the world. And I had to build tools and, apps for that. And so I've been in mobile for a while now, and we'll tell you a little bit more about what Branch is and how it can help in the actual slides. But Branch was sort of that missing tool in our growth stack as app developers, and hopefully you'll see some of the benefits. Would you like me to proceed, Alexandra? I'll just go ahead. So we're going to start off. I've got an initial section to talk through some strategies on, how should you think about getting users to your App Store page, how to analyze and optimize this incoming traffic. And then Alexandra is going to talk to you about once you get that user on that page, how can you optimize your App Store page, leveraging some of the tools in iOS 11, some of A/B testing techniques to just drive that install conversion. So hopefully you'll sort of have us talk through the entire growth stack, that entire user journey from awareness to conversion. So let's get started on how to drive users to your App Store product page. I wanted to talk a little bit in the beginning just about how tough it is. I've worked on a number of apps myself, and now we get to sort of indirectly work with tens of thousands of apps around the world. And so we live and breathe the barriers that everybody is facing on a daily basis. So we published a study about a year and a half, 2 years ago, just about something that we call the App Store Power Law. The way that the App Store is designed makes it incredibly hard for new apps being submitted, or apps that are not in the top 10 effectively, to be discovered. So this is a chart where basically on the y-axis I have a log scale rank of relative popularity. This is the number of ratings, total ratings, that an app receives relative to the top most ranked app, which is Facebook. And you can see that once you actually start dropping down and going down the number of apps, so there's the x-axis here is the rank of the app from 1 all the way to 1,000. And when you get even into 10, you're already at like 10% of Facebook's popularity. And when you get to the 1,000th, you're at just a fraction of a percent of what Facebook has achieved. And this app actually shut down a few years ago. So it's incredibly challenging to build a business in mobile, given this power law. And as time progresses, it's actually getting harder to be found. So this is a chart showing the average count of ratings per app as plotted against the year that the app was released. And if you see the glory days of 2009 and 2010, the average rating each app would receive is effectively in the thousands, whereas today it's harder to even break in the hundreds. So the problem is that your choices are limited. Maybe it's you want to pay for you might end up paying for Facebook or Google to try to drive users to the app, but costs are getting incredibly high, where it's very challenging to actually prove an ROI positive acquisition channel through paid. And so from our perspective, paid is a pretty limited channel. It has its uses, but ultimately you're going to have to leverage other techniques to try to beat these averages and make some of this stuff ROI positive for yourselves. The challenge is, like, when we were building out our own set of apps, we always compared ourselves to the challenges that websites faced. And ultimately, we found that the web isn't as hard as it is in the app ecosystem. Like in the web, there's so many other techniques you can use to grow your business, where in the App Store, you're pretty limited in terms of the techniques to drive app installs. And when we started comparing what was different about the web versus apps, the big difference that we notice is today, the app is effectively like a barrier to what's inside the app. Like when your app is presented to a new user, the only context, the only knowledge that they have about your app is what's on the Play Store or the App Store. And then once they install, they can actually get access to all the awesome content or pages inside. This is pretty limiting because, in the web, you basically have access to all of those pages directly. Somebody can find your website by looking at the page. They don't have to go to your home page immediately. So what if you had the ability to actually use the content inside of your app as a way to drive growth, similar to the way the web works? If you're familiar with a concept called content marketing is all about trying to create content inside of your business and leverage that content for growth. But unless you have the ability to find this content inside the app first, it's going to be incredibly hard to do any sort of content marketing for your mobile business. So what we did with Branch is create a way to basically reference those pages externally before the user has discovered your app, so that you have an opportunity to use your app content as a way to drive growth. And so people show up at your App Store page already having some context about what's inside. So the goal is to think a little bit more proactively about how can you leverage those internals of your app to drive growth. So when you start thinking about that, really the possibilities are pretty endless. And so we've got a couple examples here in the next section to talk through opportunities that you can use, through successes that we've seen for other companies, and ways that you could think about to take back to your own business. But the way to use this technique, you can really think about it as unlocking all of the traditional channels that would work on the web, but to drive app adoption. So you take a branch link that could point to a particular page, like maybe a picture or maybe some sort of discount or product page or whatever inside your app. And you can now leverage email and search and social and a lot of other techniques to drive growth. So let's talk about a couple different strategies that we've seen work well for other companies. One example, of course, if you have a website already, we found this to be one of the best techniques to drive growth. So this is a chart that we published about a year ago, where what we've done is we've ranked on the y-axis, this is the rank in the App Store. So 1, of course, is really high. So the chart, think about these, the axes in reverse. 1 is high, 250th is the 250th ranked app. And then on the x-axis here is the website Alexa rank. So this is the rank, how well does their website rank when it appears in sort of like how much traffic is it getting. And there's a really interesting, and it's not of course like a perfect correlation because of course there's a lot of other factors in this, but you can see that if there is a very popular website, guaranteed that they'll have a highly ranked app. And you see a lot of the best sites leveraging this technique to drive growth. So we've created a platform we call Journeys that helps you optimize and leverage this website traffic, if you have it, to drive adoption. So you can basically do things like target specific users, design very custom experiences of what they'll see when they land on the site, deploy it without writing any code and do a bunch of testing to ultimately drive growth. Like I just met with a business that launched their app for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and they're now seeing 80 to 90% of all of their new installs through this specific channel. So an example you could imagine of a user that visits the site, your website, pretty infrequently, you might want to not detract from the mobile web experience and hit them with a lighter upsell banner. So this is an example we mocked up on Amazon site where you could say user lands on the Echo Dot page. Branch will know that this is not a user that frequents Amazon.com very a lot, and so we'll only show a small banner. But when the user clicks on this page, on this Get the App page, CTA, and they go install the app, they'll be deep linked directly to the Echo Dot page after install. And this drives significant lift on conversion to purchase that Echo Dot or other products that the user might see. With Journeys, you can also target a much more engaged user. So let's say that a user clicks on a link from an email and then lands on the mobile site. You could actually show a full page interstitial rather than allow them to see that content in mobile web. And then when the user clicks on the CTA and installs the app, they of course get deep linked to the correct page after install. So with the Journeys platform, you can basically optimize the perfect call to action for users right when they're ready to convert. The other cool thing is you can of course do A/B testing and all that just to figure out which CTAs are working for your audiences. And one example, we have a case study where Dailymotion basically added a simple banner and then added some deferred deep linking so that when the user clicked on this banner from their mobile site and then went to install the app, they were taken straight to the video. The users that got that deep linked post-install experience would stick around at like about 73% more at the day 30 than other users that downloaded organically or from other channels. And so that personalized new onboarding experience was key to drive high retention. And so this is all about how do you leverage your in-app content to drive app installs and long-term engaged users. Another really awesome channel that we've seen work well when you start thinking about how can you use your content to drive growth is of course social. People share content on social, and this can be an amazing channel to convert users to highly engaged, retain app users. So you may or may not be aware, but the social platforms drive massive amounts of traffic. This was a study done by Andreessen in 2015, and even in 2015, the Facebook web browser accounted for effectively like almost 40% of all web traffic. And this has only grown as Facebook has become a more important part of the ecosystem. So there's a lot of traffic available from these social platforms, and figuring out how you can leverage your content to drive growth can be a really powerful influence. So one really key example that we've seen is the Goat app. It's a place where you can basically buy and sell sneakers via this online community. And what they do is they basically get a really great pair of shoes. And if you're into shoes, that like you see a pair that's some limited availability and you have to have it immediately. And so they're leveraging the awesome products available for purchase in the app to drive adoption. So you see this tweet in, as you're browsing through your feed and you're like, oh my God, I have to have the Air Max 90s or whatever. And the user clicks on that, they go to install the app, and then they can be linked directly to that pair of shoes after install. And so a user, they're not coming because they want to buy and sell sneakers online. They're coming because they really want the Air Max 90s. Of course, if the user has the app already, this link would take the user directly into the app, into the right page. So one really cool example that we've seen is an app called Postmates. It's a American-based delivery startup. And one thing they did is in their ads, they offered a discount coupon. So you could basically get $10 off your first delivery if you installed from the ad. And they saw a pretty substantial lift on their click-to-install rate. Basically, the industry average is about 10%, and they were seeing about 31% click-to-install. So leveraging sort of this like custom coupon or this like, some sort of additional context other than just the basic functionality of the app drove a lot higher install rate. So here's an example of how they were using Branch. They basically would create these custom links, add the coupon to the link on the dashboard, drop that into the ad with this $10 off the new order, and then when the user clicked and installed, they would actually do this personalized welcome that would see like, hey, we've added $10 to your order, go pick out the thing you want delivered right now. And so it would just drive extremely high conversion rates, much higher than just a basic install ad. The last channel we'll talk about that we've seen work extremely well for certain companies is viral growth. So how do you leverage your existing users to turn them into a key growth channel for you? So one really great example, we've got some dating app examples here. So if you've ever used the app Tinder, when you go to share a profile, so here's an example of a user going to share a link to a particular profile with a friend. They were able to basically create this link. When it goes into the SMS, this is of course a link to that profile after install, and then Tinder gets all of the analytics around how much viral traffic is flowing into the app. So the here's an example dashboard that would get with Branch where you can actually say, oh, we've had 76,000 users share the app, which drove over 100,000 new users to us. And so in this case, like people aren't going to, this user who gets this invite is not going to install Tinder to, the generic functionality of dating. They specifically want to see this particular woman's profile. So another case study we have is another dating app called The League, and they built a bunch of different viral components, and they were able to see basically an increase of about 30% of their total new monthly installs just from a few different referral features built on top of Branch. So an example they had was, right now it's an exclusive, sort of like invite only and approved only dating pool, and you could create a link that would give a new user exclusive access to the pool and bypass the waiting list. And with that, they were able to drive a substantial amount of traffic into the app. So we've just talked about a few different techniques to start thinking about how can you leverage that in-app content to drive growth through leveraging your website, through customized offers in social posts, and also in viral sharing or invites. Branch is this linking infrastructure that can help you build all of these tools and help you power all your different growth initiatives across every channel. And when you get that, when you power a feature with Branch, you're going to see both the deep linking aspect, the ability to route that user to the right page, plus web and app attribution, measurement about how the users from each of those different channels are flowing. And then the other cool thing is we seamlessly integrate into your marketing or product stack. So it's super easy to send branch data over to, you know, an Amplitude or Google Analytics or something like that if you want to segment your users by where they originated from. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Alexandra. We talked a little bit about getting users to your App Store page and then personalizing that experience after. But she's going to tell you exactly how to, you know, turn your page into the perfect conversion.
Okay, thank you so much, Alex. So that was huge. I'm a great fan actually of the idea about referral elements. Your app promote itself, so why not too? So guys, before we move on to the second part and find out how to double conversions into installs in iOS 11, have you enjoyed the first part? Type in yes if you found Alex's talk valuable and exciting. Yay, Alex! Look how popular you are. Thank you so much, guys. So now, guys, let's find out how to turn your App Store page visitors into users in iOS 11. So yeah, quick insight, an average app product page conversion is 24%. That means that only 1 of 4 app page visitors becomes a user. And as if it was huge a month ago, in iOS 7, we've noticed that an average conversion rate has decreased by 7%. Oh no, we thought and decided to find out which app page elements influence conversions in iOS 11 and how to maximize the number of installs with their help. So here is 1 second. So here is a nice chart prepared by our friends from Tool app. There is a lot in iOS 11 which you can optimize. Shorter app name, a new element, subtitle, 3 video app reviews, all-time rating, promo text, smaller screenshots in search, in-app purchases, new tabs and elements in search. So much new things. And you can say that it all seems good, but how to make sure that all these elements give you the highest possible number of installs? And if they don't, how to make them perform better? So you can rely on your intuition, of course, which will not work in 90% of cases, or you can A/B test. You can compare the performance of different app page elements. For example, actually, landscape screenshots versus portrait ones. Yeah, so by the way, an example with screenshot orientation. Only by flipping screenshots and A/B testing them with SplitMetrics, Rovio was able to get plus 13% in their conversion rate for Angry Birds 2. And actually, screenshots is my favorite part, is my favorite app page element, since their optimization brings the highest results fast. But you can A/B test icons, subtitles, app names, and all other elements. For example, I've taken these icons from another A/B test created with SplitMetrics. One of these icons have shown 26% increase in the install rate. Guys, can you guess which one? Type in A or B. Hey, yeah. So right. So that's actually what I'm talking about. An icon B looks more attractive. And if you rely on your intuition, you would add it to the app product page, and get lower conversion, since the target audience prefers the purple one. So that's how actually A/B testing works. You drive target users to the A/B test page, which is a full copy of the App Store page, and it allows them, you actually allow your target audience to decide which combination makes them tap the get button. So guys, exclude the guesswork, seriously. So since I analyzed each and every A/B test in SplitMetrics, I was able to find the common elements, or you can call them best practices of the app page elements that maximize installs. In iOS 11, I've analyzed 500,000 users and 70 A/B tests, and here are 15 install optimization hacks I found. So the first is the one you can see on the slide already. Short and clear app names can give you up to 5% increase in conversion. But actually, you get significant results only if you consider app names and subtitles as a single entity. You know, just subtitles complement short app names. For instance, a neat Prisma art filters is complemented with turn photos into artworks. 5% is great, but using call to action in the subtitle improves the conversion rate by 20%. Here, it is important to separate abstract and straightforward subtitles. For example, be an artist or edit photos with 20 art filters. The first one is clearly abstract. If it is powerful and resonates with the target audience, it increases the number of direct installs. If you give details like in the second example, like 20 filters, people tend to install after scrolling screenshots and finding more about features in the description. App names and subtitles play a great role, but actually rating is the key. You know that instead of the current app version rating, right now an average rating will be shown and all-time stars will be counted in iOS 11. So why should you care? Generally, 58% of users look at ratings and reviews before making a decision on installing your application. And 4.1 and higher is actually the rating that shows the highest TTR and tap to install. So I insist that it is super duper important to improve rating first. Got 4.1 or higher, so perfect. You can move on with other elements. For example, such as promo text. An app description was the last thing we recommended to A/B test, and in the old store, of course, since we've seen only a slight impact on conversion rate. According to our statistics, only 2% of people click the read more button and engage with the description. But guess what? A short and catchy promo text can show an average, on average, 35% conversion lift. And I've seen a maximum increase in 75%. The best practice of using it actually is to promote special offers, events, and important updates, and use it as a description summary in other cases. We're getting closer to the holiday season with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, New Year. So make sure to A/B test and prepare the high converting promo text. Apple gave us a super powerful marketing tool, so we can use it. So another tool that Apple gives is in-app purchases. And so actually in-app purchases is the first thing you maybe think about when you think about iOS 11, as well as SplitMetrics clients, by the way. So from the moment Apple released iOS 11, we've received dozens of messages about A/B testing of in-app purchases. That's a huge new feature and definitely thrilling, but do you guys really need to optimize that? From thousands of A/B tests and 15 million users tracked, we see that people tend to scroll only 30% of an app product page before making a decision on installing it. Thus, elements that influence app page conversion most are, let's count, icon, title, subtitles, screenshots, ratings and reviews, video app reviews, promo text, price, position in a category, and editor's choice. And elements that influence app page conversion less are description, what's next, extra information, and in-app purchases. So guys, iOS 11, in-app purchases serve a different purpose: drive users back. If the app is installed or was deleted, then in-app purchases are shown. They are shown above screenshots and will impact the number of reinstalls. So if your goal is to get users who have deleted your application, or you plan to get extra traffic from search, in-app purchases require optimization. In other cases, so you need to focus on other elements. The next hack is my favorite. It can give you up to 50% increase in traffic from search. 50%, guys. So before that, guys, a quick question. Don't we move too fast? Let me know in chat if you're enjoying the webinar so far. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, guys, let's move on. So 50%. In iOS 11, a user sees 3 instead of 2 portrait screenshots in search. So that leads to the scattered focus due to the small, hard-to-read captions and elements. And for that reason, landscape screenshot or split and app reviews, like landscape app reviews, show 50% conversion lift in search. It is a good idea to consider the first image. It is a good idea to consider the first image as an ad banner rather than a screenshot itself. Top performing screenshots feature the following elements: contrast graphics and illustrating key features, powerful call to action, message, key features, a caption, and big and contrast font. So what's more, a landscape screenshot with the powerful graphics and captions engages people 31% better comparing to 22% engagement with portrait screenshots. But my favorite, the most dirty part, an app listing that follows your app with a cool landscape banner style image is a blind spot. An app listing that follows your app shows the lowest conversion, whilst the following app listings have higher TTR. Yeah, guys, so it's quite a cool way to bite your closest competitors. So I love it. So why not? So that's the first thing you should A/B test if you focus on organic traffic and looking for ways to boost, your organic installs or kill competitors. And creating a new set of screenshots is rather cheap. A more expensive option, but definitely worth testing, is app reviews. Apple allows now to add 3 of them, but creating videos is time-consuming and expensive. So before paying for 3 app reviews, you want to make sure you will boost conversions, or at least will not kill them. So we had a great A/B test with our clients, Vivid Games. Guys have A/B tested 1 against 3 app reviews for their game, Space Pioneer. And guess what? 1 app review wins. Why? So doesn't more app reviews mean more conversions? Not really. A video app review can make or break your app success. And in our experiments, we've seen examples of both scenarios. So app reviews is something that requires testing. And what have caused lower conversions in the case of Space Pioneer is that there are 2 factors actually. So the first factor, the second set of app reviews doesn't have captions. And the second factor is that the third set shows one feature from different angles. And, okay, I see questions here. 1 second. What do you mean app review with captions? So app review with text. I will tell a little bit more about all these things, and after that, I will answer all your questions, guys. So, guys, the key thing here is that a negative result is the best, most insightful result Vivid Games could get, because it gives them 3 clear points on how to develop high converting app reviews. So first, if you use app reviews, just like screenshots, they should show an app from different angles. In the case of Masquerade, masks, live videos, and categories instead of celebrity masks, emotions, and face swap. So the second, use captions just like screenshots. Highlight the main elements that you want your users to notice. And of course, consider bright landscape app reviews. So here are captions. And the third, I actually insist that app reviews and screenshots are an integral unit. So the following screenshots should complement app reviews, not being duplicated or cut. A great example actually is Bowmasters, where the first app review introduces the game while screenshots cover its key features. And actually with these 3 hacks, you are able to increase success chances of your app reviews. And finally, to make sure they work, your app reviews work, you want to A/B test different variations. You will be A/B testing features you cover, landscape or portrait, app reviews, number of app reviews, and finally, captions and call to actions you are using. So, well, let's sum up how to increase conversions into installs. Here's what I believe are the key elements to optimize in iOS 11 if you want to get more installs. So the first, combinations of the short name plus call to action in a subtitle. You will also want to check how landscape screenshots perform. And of course, you will want to work with landscape app previews, which actually you have worked with 1, 2, or 3 app previews. And remember about 3 key points. And promo text. We'll have a hot holiday season in a few weeks. So it's high time to prepare your app and boost conversion. Actually. So before we go move on with questions, so Alex actually claims that there has never been a more exciting time to be in mobile, and I couldn't agree more. Yeah, so Alex, do you want to add something?
No, I think you've covered a lot. It looks like we've got a whole boatload of questions to start answering now. So if you want to pick a...
Okay, so perfect. So questions. Let's start with a question from Ashi. Yeah, right. So CTR, I mean TTR. So yeah, right. Tap through rate. Okay, thanks so much for your feedback, Gabe. A question from Mick. Does landscape portrait has influence in your rank position? Do you think as well? No, I don't think so, because screenshots do not and app reviews do not influence ranking. So a question from Sergey. How about a video instead of a vertical screenshot? So that actually is something that can be definitely tested, because it will all depend on your screenshots and on your app previews. So why not to test different options? Yeah. So the captions are texts you use on your screenshots and also app previews. A question from Maxine. What about video versus landscape image? Yes, absolutely. So actually, we've seen both cases when app previews were able to boost conversions into installs and where they ruined them. So that's actually that requires testing as well. So if you have budget to create a great bright landscape video with the main features, and it will be really exciting, and you know, and you believe that it will engage the audience and make them tap the get button, that you can absolutely test it. But I would really suggest you to start with landscape images. So why not?
I can take this one from Ashay.
Sure.
So when you leverage our web SDK on your website, so let me repeat the question for video folks. Question is, how would Branch handle attribution for an ad that links to a website, which then has a link to the App Store page? Where would branch links need to be added? So there's two answers for this, depending on how in-depth you want and where you want to analyze your data. So if you leverage our web SDK on your mobile or desktop site, and there is a branch link in the advertisement, and also branch powers that CTA, we will carry through the attribution from the original advertisement to the app install. So our web SDK makes sure that that app install is attributed back to the ad, even though there is a website in between, if that makes sense. And you would use a branch link in the ad, as well as powering that CTA with the Journeys product. If you didn't want to put a branch link in the ad, or you had some existing advertisements in place, when the user clicks on that CTA on your website, we will pass into the app the referrer, the web referrer. And so you'll be able to say that this particular install, you'll have the data if you wanted to send it to another system or whatever, to say that this particular install came from an advertisement not powered by Branch. So, but our web SDK handles all that complexity.
Okay, Alex, thank you so much for answering. I can handle another question from Mick. A question from Mick. You mentioned that one app review works better than 3, but I missed the explanation why. So yeah, here is a slide with one app review. So the key point here is that this is like one preview performed much better for Vivid Game. So it absolutely doesn't mean that it will perform better or worse for your application. Yeah, the point is that these guys were testing different video sets. So the first one was one app review, the second one was 3 app reviews without captions, and the third one was 3 previews with captions, but they were showing one feature from different angles. So that means one app review performed much better because their target users, they were looking through app review, and after that they started scrolling screenshots and exploring, other features and like what else an application gives them. So that was the key reason why app review worked much better for these guys, because they have really good screenshots, and users were able to find the screenshots and scroll far enough to see them. So I really hope that I answered your question, Mick. Please type in yes or no, or I can clarify things further. Okay, question from Lana, a really good question. My internet is horrible. Will there be a video? Yes, absolutely. For all you guys, I will send a recording from the webinar tomorrow.
Maybe I'll take this one from Sai.
Yes, absolutely.
Question is, I have a mobile game with coin currency. Can I reward users only when an install occurs through the link that they share? Yes, we have a couple different ways to do that. I'll describe just a high-level summary, and then you can find all the details in our documentation. When you click on, basically, like when a user goes to create that share, what you do is you create a branch link and put it in that share, and in that branch link you can put some sort of user identifier, and yeah, we have a Unity SDK, so you can do all this in Unity. Basically some sort of user identifier in the share. If you wanted to handle currency payouts on your own, you can set up a webhook on Branch to basically hit your backend server whenever a new install occurs from that viral share. And so that way you could basically trigger a reward for that original user's account with coins for that. The other system you could use is we actually have an entire credits management system where we can handle storing a balance of those credits for you, and you can create reward rules where the user who gets that, who does that initial referrer, who drives that referral, basically gets credits when a new user installs from their link. And so we have a full set of a blog post and documentation on how to set up your own full stack referral system, if that's of interest too. But simplest way to get started with your own is a webhook to your own backend if you've already got a credit system in place.
Okay, I have a question from Neha, so I can handle these. A question, how much traffic do you need to send to each of your A/B tests in order to get results? Does it have to be through paid ads? Actually, we found that it is much easier to work with Facebook ads to actually drive traffic to A/B test, and we require at least 300 people on each variation. So we calculate a confidence level, a confidence score for each A/B test, and we strive to get 95% of confidence before we actually say that, hey, this variation wins, and you can implement it, you can apply it to your app product page and get results as well. So that said, it doesn't need to be through paid ads only. You can have your own website, for example, to promote an A/B test, or add smart banners, or etc. etc. So you can use different channels, and not absolutely they will be paid. Yeah. Nia, please let me know that. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Maxime, can you expand on your question?
Okay, I think I have a question from Rodion. What app metrics affect App Store position most? So actually, could you please clarify this for us? So actually, if we talk about App Store rankings, there is a bunch of elements that influence your app rankings, from titles and subtitles, and keywords you use, and etc. etc. except a promo text and a description. And of course, Apple considers the tap through rate and tap to install rates your application has, and it also influences your app rankings. So I really hope that I answered your question. If not, please let me know.
Maxime, we can't give a clear answer on cost per install, but I can share that I've seen companies that successfully use their content in app with deep links to drive installs, get installs as low as in the tens of cents, because users are more excited to install an app when they actually are going for some sort of content. But it of course varies for every situation. So we can't provide a generic answer on that. And a question about pricing. You can get started with Branch totally free. We've got links free to create, self-onboard, super easy to set up. And then some of our features, like the more complex things like journeys and other things, are paid, but they're very reasonably priced.
Okay, I have another question before we finish. So, what's the difference between app reviews and screenshots? So, app reviews are actually videos, the small videos um, 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 you have on the app product page. Yeah. So, and screenshots are images. Look, Alex, we have a great question. How much will it cost an install if I were to use Branch plus SplitMetrics? Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can discuss it. Thanks so much for a great question, Maxim. So a clarification from Rodion. I mean, does uninstall or retention affects to acquisition? That's a great question, actually. And I haven't heard about the uninstall rate or retention, whether it is actually impacts your acquisition. And there is a bunch of other metrics that might influence your app rankings, but we do not know about that. So I think that it is all about testing and checking how these metrics you mentioned influence your own positions. So it would be good you could share your statistics after you test it. I didn't have a question. I didn't have an answer to this question. Sorry, Rodian. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. So thank you so much for your great question. If we have any questions unanswered, please let us know. Please drop us a line at alex at branch.io or alexandra at splitmetrics.com. And what I'll do tomorrow is I will send you this webinar recording and books, checklists, and other valuable materials. There you will find, I promise, the coolest tips and tricks on hacking mobile growth. Guys who are here still, have you enjoyed the webinar? Please type in yes or no in the chat. Amazing. Okay. Sorry, Stanislav, for the sound issues. I think everything will be fine on the recording, so I will send you a copy tomorrow. Okay. So thank you so much for your participation, guys, once again. It was a great pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing such valuable information about Branch and hacking mobile growth. And all guys, let's keep in touch. You can find us on LinkedIn or write at our emails. And I'd really love to hear from you.
Thanks so much, everybody. Good luck out there.
Thanks so much and goodbye.